Hey everybody, JCB here at the Awesomist, and you're watching the Awesomist YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do an update about my channel and of course Six Flags Magic Mountain, which has been closed for a while now due to the pandemic and blah blah blah. You understand all of that already. But it might not be closed for all that much longer. Six Flags is scheduled to reopen one of their parks on June 5th. This will be the first park to reopen since the pandemic and a good test case. The last time I went to Six Flags Magic Mountain was back in February, and the park was just starting to get busier on the weekends and holidays. Then coronavirus struck, and it never got to the point where the park was really truly busy, at least not that I saw. For those of you wondering whether or not I'm going to be able to continue my series, Is It Busy?, in which I visit the park on various holidays to see if the park is especially busy on those days, the answer is yes and no. You see, one of the main policies that are going to be put into place at Six Flags during this pandemic is one of reduced capacity, which means the park is going to be artificially kept at a lower capacity than it would be on a normal day. There's just going to be less people there every single day. While no official number has been announced by the company itself, guesstimates range from 25 to 50% normal capacity until things get back to normal or there's a vaccine. In addition to reduced capacity, the park is also instituting a reservations only policy in which you have to book your trip to Six Flags Magic Mountain in advance. At the moment, the entire calendar is unavailable, but at some point when the county is comfortable, the dates will open up and reservations will be available. I plan to reserve a spot as soon as dates become open because I want to do a video in which I go to Magic Mountain and talk about the different policies that are in place and how they're being implemented and handled, and if it's a good experience, if it's a bad experience, like what you can expect, and any tips that I might be able to come up with for how to navigate Magic Mountain during this strange time. It's also been reported that face masks will be required for both staff and guests. Plus, less people will be allowed in the ride queues, and there'll be little markers on the ground so that it's easy for guests to stay at least 6 feet away from each other. Which is great for me because I hate it when people crowd right up against you. Also, on the plus side, rides will be cleaned and disinfected more often, so that's nice. Hand sanitation stations are also going to be placed throughout the park, which is great. But while we're on the subject, could we maybe fix the restroom sinks? Because it's weird that during a pandemic, we're all being told to wash our hands for 20 seconds or however long it takes to sing Happy Birthday twice, but almost every single public restroom in the entire country has automatic faucets that go off in like the blink of an eye. It's also been reported that Six Flags will be conducting temperature checks at the gates before letting anyone in. They also plan to distance people on the rides. Now, first, I wasn't sure how they were going to do this, if it was going to be like one person per row, or if they were going to put an empty row between the rows to keep people separate. But this video made it pretty clear that that's what they're going to do. There's going to be an empty row in between you and the person behind you. I'm not really sure if this is going to do anything. Like, I get they're just trying to be like overly cautious, but your germs aren't going to stay in the seat with you. You know, they're going to blow away behind you. And speaking of things blowing away behind you, your mask will probably fall off, which is why Six Flags is also offering park guests masks as well as hand sanitizer. And I wonder if they're going to have like themed masks where it's like the bottom part of Batman's mask or maybe a Bugs Bunny face or something, and they'll charge like $25 and maybe some of them will have like a little cape on the back. Anyway, let's talk about the reservation system. Basically, there are going to be 3 tiers of guest reservations. The highest priority will be given to upper level Diamond and Diamond Elite members. The lower level memberships are probably the second tier, with the day passes being the third. But regardless, once you've booked your spot, they're going to offer you a chance to watch an information video about the policies and procedures that have been put into place during this time of the pandemic. So things like wearing your mask, social distancing, etc. And I think that's a great idea. In fact, Six Flags, if you need somebody who's, you know, like non-threatening, semi-charismatic, almost handsome to host and film a video like that, hit me up. My DMs are always open. So to recap, based on reporting, it appears the new policies will include reduced overall capacity, a reservation system, social distancing in ride queues and on the rides, mandatory face masks, hand washing stations throughout the park, regular cleaning of rides and other surfaces, hand sanitizer and masks available to the guests, futuristic temperature checks at the gate, and a helpful video hosted by me, hopefully, although I doubt it. So that rule about reduced capacity would definitely throw off the whole Is It Busy video series. Like, it'll always not be busy. So I'm going to have to put it on pause for now, and I can pick it back up whenever things get back to normal, which Could be maybe late this year if the fall turns out not to be a big deal with coronavirus, or it might be next spring, or whenever they happen to get a vaccine or an affordable, easy to access treatment that kind of just reduces the symptoms down to like a common cold. Like, whatever the case may be, whatever the outcome is of this pandemic, whenever that happens, I'll definitely pick that series right back up where I left off. I think the next holiday I was supposed to do was actually going to be St. Patrick's Day, but of course didn't get to do that. So if it happens before the year's over, then I'll pick it up for Halloween or whatever the case may be. But if it doesn't, then I'll just pick it back up on St. Patrick's Day, assuming things are back to normal at that point. Speaking of picking things up where I left off, my part 2 video of the trip to Sequoia will be coming soon. Also, I stumbled upon footage I filmed for a ride profile video that I never edited together, so that'll be coming out soon as well. I also want to touch on the rumor of an RMC Raptor coming to Six Flags Magic Mountain. Basically, permits were pulled at Magic Mountain to build what is essentially a modified clone of the Jersey Devil coaster. The rumor is that it'll use Green Lantern's old loading bay, travel towards Battle for Metropolis, do some crazy stuff, then come right back to the Green Lantern loading bay at the end. And apparently there's like a small change to the track layout of this rumored coaster versus Jersey Devil, and the big change is that it basically just changes the way it enters the loading station, because the Green Lantern loading station is a little different. So it's basically the exact same ride, which is pretty cool. The one thing that we don't know for sure, I mean, other than is this all nonsense, is what will happen with Tidal Wave. Because the track supports, and maybe even the track itself, will have to go through the Tidal Wave area. And that might facilitate the entire removal of Tidal Wave. Nobody knows yet. I would be very sad if that happened, although I wouldn't mind them replacing it with some other water ride. People have been speculating all over the internet about the theming of this new ride, with many people wanting it to be a Joker-themed ride. But honestly, I don't see why they wouldn't just leave it Green Lantern-themed. I mean, they already have a themed loading station, a big Green Lantern landmark out front. All they need is some green paint for the track. Speaking of track, apparently pieces of it have been spotted in the wild. Instagram user Mr. Amusement posted some photos on his Instagram page. As you can see, the initials SFMM appear on the track pieces, both in what appears to be paint or grease pen, and carved into the steel itself. So while this is not impossible to fake, if it is in fact a very elaborate Photoshop, it'd be probably one of the best hoaxes I've ever seen. Back in April of this year, the Six Flags Corporation announced that due to the park's closure, the company would have to cut about $30 to $40 million of additional non-labor operating costs this year, including spending announced last year to, quote, improve guest experiences, end quote. I don't know about you, but when I first read that, I immediately thought, rides. They're talking about rides. They're going to be cutting rides, which means there's probably a bunch of parks that won't be getting anything next year. But the article says these cuts include spending that was announced last year, which means some promised rides are probably not coming at all. And as someone who got a taste of that when Six Flags Magic Mountain was completely ignored, like we didn't even exist during last year's announcement video, I don't wish that on anybody. I mean, it's gonna really, really suck when announcements start coming out that this ride was canceled and this ride was canceled, and that ride you're excited about, it's been canceled. Oh. Jersey Devil's like vertical at Six Flags Great Adventure, right? Like, it's already up. Like, they're not just sending that to Magic Mountain now, are they? Somebody look up that for me, please. All of that said, Jersey Devil looks really cool, so if we do get an ever so slightly modified clone of this coaster, I will be very happy. While I think the whole world is waiting for the world's first RMC T-Rex to be built, these Raptor coasters are really, really cool, and I think it'll be a great addition to the park. I also think it's probably still likely to happen if this rumor is at all true, despite all the cuts happening to Six Flags budgets, for three main reasons. The first is that Magic Mountain turns 40 in 2021. If any park deserves to be one of the few to get a ride, it's the park that's celebrating its 40th anniversary, especially after being given the cold shoulder last year. Number two, Magic Mountain is the company's highest performing park. If Six Flags wants to come out of this pandemic in one piece, they're going to need Six Flags Magic Mountain to lead the way in the recovery. It's the one park that's a safe investment. The best way to guarantee increased attendance is with a new ride. And number three, it'll be the park's long sought after 20th coaster. Coaster enthusiasts are well aware of this, but for those of you who may not know, West Coast Racers was supposed to put Magic Mountain over the top and secure the park's place in history as the first and only park to feature 20 roller coasters. But then Green Lantern closed, and before West Coast races were even finished, it was clear we were going to be back down to 19. I think the 20th coaster being built for the park's 40th anniversary in the spot where the coaster was that cost us the 20th coaster claim to fame in the first place is just perfect. Anyway, what else are we going to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about the channel and where the Awesomist stands as of today. The channel currently sits at 5,943 subscribers. You guys have watched 98,780 hours of content, over 1.3 million views. My most watched video has 180,148 views. 89% of my viewers are not subscribed. What the hell, guys? Subscribe already. It helps me justify this channel's existence to my family, friends, and students. Anyway, 72.2% of my audience is male. Sup, brah? 20.8% of my audience is female. Miladies. Most of my audience is between the ages 18 and 34, and almost all of you are from the United States, which makes sense. On a somewhat negative note, my channel has definitely taken a hit thanks to this pandemic. Overall views are down sharply, which means revenue is down sharply. Go figure. Just about everything my videos touch on is not allowed to happen right now. Anyway, over the next few weeks, I plan on releasing those 2 videos already mentioned. Plus, if Magic Mountain does allow reservations to be made, I'm going to make my reservations so I can make a video about what the park's like during the pandemic. I also found some other videos that I had filmed but never edited or did anything with, so I'll be sure to release those as well. One of those is a trip to Disneyland that I did. Well, California Adventure. You see, my wife bought a 3-pack of tickets back in January, I want to say. That basically we just had to use all 3 tickets at some point between January and May 21st. Disneyland's of course been closed, and so they've been supposedly like extending that offer out for as ever many months the park ends up being closed for. But I haven't heard anything about that in a while. I don't know if that policy has changed or not. Anyway, point is, we were allowed to go any 3 days we wanted. They didn't have to be consecutive, so we did our first day in February, with the plan being we'd do another one in March, and then a third one around late April or early May or so, hoping to make a 3-video series about going to Disneyland and California Adventure, with it culminating in our experience riding Rise of Resistance, which, when we went in February for visit number 1, was still using that virtual queue system, so like you had to get your foot in the park early as possible. Like you had to be there at the opening gate, get inside, hit the virtual queue app, and just get in line. And then it would still take like 6 to 8 hours just to get on the ride. So we were hoping that by the time like early to mid-May came around, when we were going to use that last ticket, that all that nonsense would be over with, and we'd be able to just wait in line like a normal ride. But now the pandemic's happened, all the people we were hoping would get the ride over with and done and make room for everybody else never got on the ride. And even those who have been on the ride, by the time Disneyland opens back up, are going to want to ride it again. So I feel like we're going to be stuck doing the virtual queue thing, or we're not going to get on the ride at all. Both of those things are very possible. Even less is known about what policies Disneyland will have, but they may open sooner, as Orange County is already in phase 2 of reopening, while Los Angeles, as of this recording, is not. Regardless, I'll release that first part that I filmed back in February as its own standalone video, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with the other 2 parts. Anyway, that's it for me today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as I release new videos all the time. Keep your eyes peeled for those 2 coming up right away, and until next time, keep being awesome. Because I'm sure some people can't resist the urge to carve nonsense into the side of a living tree that's older than the United States. There's also a ton of little kids climbing on everything and running around. But once you're at the General Sherman, it's a nice, quiet, peaceful space of tranquility. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's a line of 200 people all trying to get a picture in front of a little sign.